You think you're angry because the world is broken. What if the world looks broken? Because someone needs you angry. Before we talk about what someone did to your anger, we need to talk about what anger actually is. Anger is not a flaw in your psychological architecture. It is one of the most sophisticated tools evolution has ever produced. When you encounter a threat, a real one, a physical one, your amygdala fires. Within milliseconds, your hypothalamus signals your adrenal glands. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your bloodstream. Your heart rate spikes. Your vision narrows. Pain sensitivity drops. Strength increases. In the right context, in the context it was designed for, rage is a genuine performance enhancer. Your ancestors didn't survive because they were calm. They survived because when everything was on the line, they could become something frightening. But here's what made anger truly remarkable as a tool. It felt good, not just after, but during. Moral outrage, the specific flavor of anger that comes from believing you are right and someone else is wrong, triggers the same reward circuitry as food, as sex, as substances. Stanford researchers have described it as social media having a drugified human connection. When collective outrage finds an audience, when your fury gets seen and validated, your brain releases dopamine, which is why rage-filled comment sections feel oddly compelling despite making us miserable. You are not broken for feeling this. You were built for this. The problem is that someone figured out how to exploit it.
This tool was never designed for the information age.
In 2025, Oxford named rage bait its word of the year. Usage had tripled in a single year. We have a word for it now, which means we've accepted it as a category of reality. Here's what rage bait is technically. Content engineered to produce outrage, not because the platforms hate you, but because an angry user is a loyal user, and a loyal user sees more ads. The mechanics are not complicated. Platforms learned over years of behavioral data that anger keeps you on the screen longer than joy, longer than sadness, longer than almost anything else. A team at Beihang University analyzed millions of social media posts and found that anger consistently outperformed every other emotion in driving shares, especially between strangers. Unlike happiness, which requires your full attention to spread, anger does not. You cannot think your way out of anger contagion. Your conscious effort to stay rational does not protect you. A pre-registered algorithmic audit published in PNAS Nexus in 2025 found that Twitter's engagement-based ranking algorithm actively amplifies emotionally charged, out-group hostile content. Content that users themselves reported made them feel worse about people they disagreed with. The algorithm is not neutral. It is not a mirror. It is a machine that has learned what makes you angrier and feeds you more of it. But what Yale researcher Molly Crockett identified goes even deeper than that. When outrage expression moves online, it becomes more readily available, requires less effort, and is reinforced on a schedule that maximizes the likelihood of future outrage expression. In other words, the platform doesn't just show you things that make you angry. It trains you to be angrier more often. A Yale study analyzed 12.7 million tweets from 7,331 users. Their finding: some people learn to express more outrage over time, not because the world gets worse, but because the platform rewards it. The most affected users were not political extremists. They were the moderates. The system radicalizes the center first, and then something else happens. Psychologists call it identity fusion. When you have expressed the same kind of outrage enough times, when the algorithm has reflected it back to you enough times, the anger stops being a response to events. It becomes part of who you are. You are not someone who gets angry about this. You are someone who is angry. And that distinction matters because once anger becomes your identity, you cannot afford to question it. To let go of it would mean losing yourself.
Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you changed your mind about something you were furious about?
And the companies building these systems know exactly what they're doing. Internal documents from Facebook revealed that their algorithms explicitly rewarded controversial content, regardless of the social consequences. A field experiment with 1,256 participants published in Science in November 2025 found that adjusting exposure to partisan hostility content in a social media feed directly shifted how much people hated those who disagreed with them. Not influenced, not nudged, shifted. Causal evidence that what you are fed is actively changing who you are becoming. This is how someone who once got angry about reasonable things ends up somewhere they don't recognize. Clinical practitioners have started naming it. They call it political rage fatigue. Constant exposure to outrage content leaves people mentally exhausted, but unable to stop checking their feeds. It mirrors behavioral patterns observed in other forms of compulsive behavior. Because chronic anger is not free, your body produces cortisol to sustain it. Cortisol over long periods contributes to inflammation, cardiovascular strain, and compromised immune function. Your brain builds tolerance. What neuroscientists call learned emotional reinforcement means that mild content no longer satisfies. You need increasingly extreme material to feel the same emotional response. This is how someone who once got angry about reasonable things ends up somewhere they don't recognize. And the quieter cost, the one that's harder to measure, is what rage displaces. Joy, curiosity, the capacity to be surprised by something that isn't outrage. Research on engagement algorithms found that they fundamentally disrupt the process by which humans learn social norms, replacing the organic understanding of each other with algorithmically amplified extremes. You are not getting a distorted picture of the world. You are getting a picture of the world shaped by what keeps you looking at it. And that system profits from your fury. It does not profit from your peace. It does not profit from your clarity. It does not profit from you turning the phone over and asking yourself, who benefits from you feeling exactly like this?
The most radical thing you can do in a rage economy is to refuse to be a product.